inviting us. I think I've got the honor of being one of the few repeat presenters here, back here in 2012 with Badgeville, my previous company. I'm here to talk about BetterWorks, which is about a year old. I'm here building out our New York office. We're a Silicon Valley-based company right on a university in Palo Alto. And what is BetterWorks? We're all about helping organizations drive operational excellence, right? What does that actually mean? We believe that any organization of any size, can accomplish amazing things if you just point the right people at the right goals. And this is resonating with all kinds of different companies, right? So companies that are kind of in high growth mode, so high growth, high technology companies, a lot of companies that you might find in Silicon Valley or here in New York that are growth companies, but also a lot of organizations that are more traditional. And now we're seeing a lot of very, very large organizations, hundreds of thousands of employees who are trying to, in some ways, kind of bottle up that startup operational magic and apply it to their business to drive innovation and drive scale. Why is this a challenge? And some of you might recognize a few of these challenges. When you're growing, obviously, when you're a little bit smaller, it's a lot easier to sort of look across the table and address challenges with your team head on. As you scale, that becomes a lot more difficult, right? Across multiple viewpoints. If you're an executive, a lot of what we hear is, how well aligned is our organization? Are we really focusing on the right things? Managers are constantly putting out fires, and how do they focus their teams on the right things? And do they have the right systems to do that? And more, I'm sure you guys hear about the challenge of employee engagement. How do individual contributors really get a sense of how their contributions fit into the bigger picture? This isn't anything new, obviously. There's been a long history of management by objectives in the 50s and 60s to objectives and key results, right, in the 80s and 90s. We've actually taken a look at the research and distilled some best practices, which you see here. And so our perspective was, if we were to take today's technology and today's techniques for driving really compelling user experiences, what would that look like? And what would be some best practices in building this platform? And this is what we come up with. Now, you don't have to take my word for it. We've actually assembled a pretty amazing team. Again, we're only about a year old, but we've grown to about 40 people, most of whom are in Palo Alto, mostly engineers. We've got a small office here in New York. And the father of OKRs himself, John Doerr, actually raised our big Series A round, the biggest Series A check that he wrote since Google, apparently, $15 million. And we've got folks like Josh Burson in terms of HR thought leadership, and then also folks like Shona Brown, who spent 10 years at Google building the business and people operations, and also Laszlo Bach, who's the current head of people operations at Google, who are behind our team and helping us to answer some admittedly not so easy questions. So with all that said, let me switch gears here and actually show you the platform. And John, you'll keep me honest on the time, right? Yep. All right. So I will make this a little bit bigger. So what you're looking at is the BetterWorks dashboard. I've logged in as somebody who's the CEO of a company. And regardless of your role, when you log in, you're going to see this Fitbit-style dashboard. And it'll tell you things about your own progress on your own goals, and also progress that your team is making on their goals. Right at the top, you'll see things like, here are some personalized recommendations. Here's a few things that you can do right now to move your goals forward. And you can see things like, what's the recent activity? How's my team progressing? Even things like, what's trending in the system? Now, if we click through to this overall progress meter, you can actually see Chris Dart's goals in a list view. Now, how do these goals get in the system? It's actually super easy. We can create goals right on the fly. Not a lot of administrative overhead to get these goals in the system. You can track a goal in a couple different ways, either as a milestone-based goal or as a metric-based goal. And metric-based goals, you can create whatever unit. Milestones you can create now, or you can edit them later. If we create a milestone-based goal really quickly, I can't type. You can see you just set the due date, and the privacy settings, and then you're off and running. Now, some of these goals are going to be very much individually owned, like the one at the bottom, but most of them are going to be goals that require a lot of team participation and collaboration. So let's take a look at one of those. The improved employee engagement goal might fall into that category. When you click through to any goal, what you'll see immediately is this goal detail page. And so I'll just orient you as to what you're seeing. Right at the top, you'll see how many days until the goal is due. You'll see this nifty goal tree animation, right? How healthy is your goal? Is your tree flourishing and bearing fruit, or is it dried out and withered? It really reinforces the notion that goals aren't things that you can just set and forget. These are living, dynamic things that you've got to take care of. Who cares about your goals? And then we can talk about cheering and nudging later. There's lightweight goal collaboration on the right. So folks can comment on your goal. You can add context around your own progress, ask questions, maybe put links to various document repositories. In the middle, you'll see the story of success start to unfold, right? What are the ways in which we were able to accomplish this goal over time? Now, most importantly, right at the bottom, these are all the contributors to achieving this goal. And you'll notice that some of the milestones are actually owned by Chris himself, but a lot of them are owned by other people on the team. And you can create contributors in a couple different ways. Chris can actually go in here and create a new milestone and assign that goal to somebody else on his team. Or somebody could have discovered this goal as a top goal for the company and say, hey, I'm working on something that actually contributes to this. I'm going to create a milestone and then own it myself. So 2 examples, right? Top-down goal assignment and also more bottoms-up goal contribution. Now, these milestones actually look like milestones because we're looking at it through the lens of Chris's goal. But for example, if we look at this, Katie, let's go down to implement top 3 improvements. This is just a goal that Clark owns, right? And so as he records progress on his goal, he gets credit for it, and he also contributes to the employee engagement goal. So it's a really sort of streamlined, organic way to connect how goals impact one another without really having to figure out in a really rigid, structured way how goals cascade throughout the company. Now, why is that important? Once you start putting a lot of goals in the system, now you can actually visualize how well aligned the company is. So in this case, imagine we can now see here are the top company goals. The progress is actually being calculated essentially in real time because you've farmed out the progress captured to the various stakeholders. And you can drill down and see exactly who in the organization and which parts contribute to this goal. And from here, you can go and click on the goal. Looks like Alicia's having a little bit of a hard time with the CSAT targets. So we can go in here, we can comment on her goal. We can nudge her. She's gotten a lot of nudges in the demo environment. In this case, we're going to give her a little cheer. All of those notifications show up in the system, and you can also determine how you want those notifications to show up via email. So we've thought long and hard about how can we make this really compelling as a user experience. Most enterprise solutions, as you guys know, have a hard time delivering on that. We've taken a lot of inspiration from the quantified self movement, from consumer products, and we've thought about how can we actually drive people to use this. And we're seeing a lot of really great uptake from our initial customer base. Last but not least, let me show you goals in context, which is dashboards, right? So let's say you're a manager and you're trying to track a particular initiative. Now you can see all the kind of goals within a certain context. What are all the directly contributing goals in one place? What are some of the goals at risk, right? These are goals that maybe impact a lot of other goals or are impacted by a lot of other goals. What's the overall health of the contributing goals? What's the balance of contribution, right? Do we have the right parts of the organization contributing in the right way? And then what's the overall progress by group? Speaking of progress, we've got the ability to print out a goal summary as well. This is not intended to replace kind of the traditional performance review, performance management process. Consider this really more of an operational tool, operational system, where it can act as a data point within your performance review process. So imagine now for the first time being able to go into your manager's office and say, hey, here's the kind of objective record of accomplishment over whatever period. And now let's have the conversation around, compensation or, reviews or promotions, et cetera. This is available as a web application. We also have a native iOS application. We will probably have Android coming out here in the near future. Let's see here. And I think with that, is it time for questions, John? Okay. We'll open it up for questions. Yes?
How do you verify the completion of a goal? Because, for example, when I ask my kids to clean up their room, they say it's clean, I go in and I have it.
That's a great question. The question was, how do you verify the completion of a goal? We've erred on the side of transparency in the system, right? So, with some exceptions, everyone can see everyone's goals, and everyone can see everyone's actions, either as notifications or as emails. And so what happens is there's a kind of self-regulating kind of feature of the system because everyone can see everything that's happening. I think so. That's how we've accounted for that within the product. We've also done a lot with respect to really understanding how to launch this successfully in organizations. So helping the companies define the rules of engagement, right, and getting on the same page even before we launch it. But certainly there's a certain amount of trust involved, right? This is not a replacement for good management, but I think what it does is shed a light on the conversations that need to happen. Now that said, in the future, we will have integrations with systems of record, right? Both into BetterWorks for more automated progress capture, and also out of BetterWorks for more data portability. And I think a side effect of that would be, hey, can we validate that what this person is reporting is actually true within our systems of record? So that's coming.
Can you tell me, go back to the experience, can you set certain default parameters to say it's not realistic for anyone to have 117 goals in the next 6 months?
Yeah.
And the other thing is, what happens if a goal kind of evolves and it's reset 4, 5, 6, 7 times?
Yep.
Because I'd like to go back to the original timeline to be honest about it.
Yeah, so there's two parts to that question, right? I'll answer the second one first. You can see sort of a history of what happens within a goal. Adaptability is one of the pillars that we talked about earlier, right? So you want to be able to account for the fact that your business needs are going to change over time. And so editing a goal is okay, right? Understanding why you edit it is even more important. So I don't think we don't want to put any barriers to allowing that to happen. With respect to the first question, right? Can you create rules essentially? I think we've erred on the side of simplicity for now, but I do think there's a lot of opportunity for us to make this really smart and predictive. So, for example, imagine being able to collect a lot of information over time about a particular role, right? And now, when you create your goal, it's very very straightforward. What are the milestones, et cetera? But I can imagine a future where when you start typing, it can recognize, hey, I see you're in the account management function. I see you're creating a goal about a particular client. I see you had a similar goal 90 days ago. And in that way, starting to kind of shepherd you in creating this goal. We obviously don't have that now, but I think that's probably an opportunity for us to make this whole interface a lot smarter. Yes?
So, very nice presentation. You mentioned you have an iOS app.
Yes.
So what would be the use case for that? And how would it not is it?
Yeah.
Open up a calendar event, emails.
So the question was, what's the use case for iOS? I think there's a huge opportunity for capturing mobile in the enterprise. Obviously, a lot of people use calendar, messaging, email. I use Clear as well. Love Clear. But not much else, right? I think in reality what's going to happen is a lot of the goal creation, the management, the viewing alignment is going to happen within the web app. The big challenge with getting people to make progress on their goals is really one of how do you create the right rhythm, the right cadence around progress, right? And today it could be very as easy as, hey, it's Sunday night, I'm catching up on Game of Thrones. What do I have to do in the next week to really, kick ass at work? I don't have to go to my, laptop or anything. I just pull out my phone. And I have a North Star here. Here's what I need to do. 3 to 5 things that I need to kind of continue to make progress on, and that's going to contribute to my team. Now, in the future, I think making the mobile app even much more focused on a handful of gestures, a handful of behaviors that's actually going to make you move your progress along. So an example would be, the landing page right now. If you look at this daily this is system generated for each user, right on the top, in the middle of the page. 2 or 3 things you can do right now. So you can extrapolate and think, well, what can I deliver in terms of a mobile experience as a reminder, as a push notification? That'll just remind me, here's a few things that I can do, cheering, nudging my colleagues, or tracking progress on an event. So I think that's going to be more of a whittled down experience just to drive those behaviors.
One more.
Oh, Taylor.
The big question in my mind is how to get people to adhere to this.
Yeah.
Thinking about, I saw a presentation last night about people that have multiple medications, and the big problem is they don't take them. So this seems like really great medicine.
Yeah.
But like a big hurdle for people to really get invested in the system and learn what's a healthy way for me to use this and interface with this. So what are you guys doing around that?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's really a question around how do you drive continuous engagement and adoption. I think it starts with a compelling user experience, right? The mobile piece has a huge impact on virality. We hear that all the time. And we're constantly innovating. We've got some, I mentioned last time I was here, I was with Badgeville. We have a few folks from Badgeville, and hopefully you can see some kind of evolution of gamification, and not in an explicit way, but in a way that drives behaviors. But that's only part of the equation, right? The other part is how do we drive customer success? And I'm happy to announce that we've got our co-founder and customer success lead, Paul Reeves, in the audience. So please ask him that question afterwards. He'll tell you all about it. We also have Sarah Sheik, who's my partner here in New York on the customer success side, and Menka Sharaf on the marketing team as well. Really the question is your organization goals oriented to begin with, right? Are you attempting to drive discipline today, and if so, how? Oftentimes that answer is Microsoft Word, right, and Excel. And then do we have executive support and a dedicated program manager who can help shepherd this from launch to ongoing optimization? So it's not rocket science. It's very kind of similar to enterprise kind of change management. The good news is that because this is a very flexible solution, we encourage people to, it's sort of like a goal muscle, right? It's how do you just continually get better at getting better? So that question would be a bigger challenge if folks were kind of setting this in January and then looking at it in December. In reality, they're working with us in Q1, looking at the data at the end of Q1, finding ways to tune and optimize for Q2, and to get better and better at goal setting and goal execution. And so that's how we do it.
Thank you very much.
Great. By the way, we're hiring, so if anyone wants to talk to us, please let us know.